What's up, everybody? How's everybody going? We're about to go over wicked imagination. What is it, right? Imagination is the powerful faculty of the mind that allows us to form ideas, images, and possibilities. It is the internal workshop where thoughts are shaped, dreams are crafted, and futures are envisioned. In its pure form, imagination is neither good nor evil. It is simply the ability to create from the mind. Yet, like fire, it can illuminate or consume, depending on the heart that wields it. This is where caution comes into play. Some people use their imagination as engines of crafting or fabricating personal truth. They are imagining systems of morality, identities, and purpose that is divorced from objective reality. Thoughts become dogma, feelings become laws, desire becomes doctrine. In this environment, imagination is weaponized not for harmony with reality, but in rebellion against it. Take a look around. The word image is in the word imagination. In whose image and likeness is society being shaped? From whose mind does it make from whose mind does it come from? Every culture, system, or civilization is a manifestation of collective thought, shaped by shared beliefs, dreams, and fears. But all collective thoughts has a source, an originating image. So the real question is, what image is modern society being conformed to? What mind is architecting this world, nation, or home? We live in an age where people are reshaping, even terraforming the moral and cultural landscape through sheer will, through media, technology, ideology, and influence. Imaginations are becoming blueprints for society itself. But if those imaginations are wicked, born of pride, hatred, selfishness, and confusion or despair, then what are we building is not a world of life, but a world of illusion and decay. A wicked thought does not remain still. It sees a wicked volition, a deep intention that drives a person forward. And volition always leads to action. What begins in the private chambers of the mind becomes spoken, implemented, and institutionalized. The imagination becomes reality, but not a good one. Without boundaries, our minds become a forge for systems of falsehood and idols. Idols as mental strongholds. An idol is not merely a statue or object of worship. It is a mental stronghold. Anything created by the human mind, heart, or hands that replaces, competes with, or takes the place of ultimate truth while subverting morality. That is what an idol is. Think of idols as false centers of gravity, magnetic attractions, or negative frequencies that resonates and draws many souls away from what is good, just, and eternal. There are counterfeit altars upon which we sacrifice truth, conscience, and wisdom. These are the modern idols that dominate the contemporary imagination. Number one, the idol of self. Elevating personal identity, autonomy, or feelings above all else. The self becomes its own deity, the altar of worship, untouchable by truth, immune to correction, and unyielding to any higher authority. The idol of wealth or success, believing that material gain, productivity, and financial achievement is the highest form of human wealth. Value becomes transactional and about amassing things, while life is measured in accumulating rather than virtue. The idol of pleasure, making comfort, indulgence, and gratification the ultimate goal of life. Pain is seen as evil. discipline as oppression, and sacrifice as unnecessary, all in the pursuit of endless entertainment or escape. Number 4, the idol of ideology. Treating political, religious, or cultural systems as infallible or salvational, especially when they are riddled with contradiction, selective morality, or blatant hypocrisies. Dogma becomes tribal, and loyalty to ideology outweighs allegiance to wisdom and reality. The idol of influence or power, worshiping control, dominance, or visibility. In this mindset, influence is mistaken for integrity, and visibility is confused with value. Power becomes the ultimate goal, even at the expense of others. It becomes the lens through which justice and truth are twisted. The idol of celebrity. The elevation of famous individuals, actors, musicians, influencers, athletes, and public figures to a status of adoration, authority, and near worship that far exceeds their actual human value. Their image becomes more sacred than truth, and their words carry more weight than wisdom. Big facts. Every society is a mirror, and every mirror reflects a face, whether divine, distorted, or disguised. What we behold, we become. What we imagine, we image. And the image we choose to exalt will either raise us towards life or pull us towards into death. This is the painful truth about the laws of cause and effect. If not properly understood, society reflects the mind of the majority, not the minority. So if the majority is messed up, society will be messed up. If the majority is healed, society will be healed. Now, I'm going to take a break here and explain. Right? So, every society, no matter how good or how bad it is a reflection of the people within the society. So, all the thoughts that people project, they create into systems. They pass as laws. They create as culture. They create as it becomes a way of life. These thoughts that collectively shape who we are as a people, they become a way of life, right? They become endorsed, and over time, it becomes part of the culture. So, society is a reflection of the majority. It always has been a majority. So if the majority is bad, society will reflect that. Of course, you may have a few individuals that are good, but if the majority is bad, society will be majority bad and will conform to the imagination of these people. If the majority is good, if the majority is balanced, their collective thoughts are balanced and good, society will reflect that naturally, right? Because of the laws of cause and effect. You may have a few individuals that are bad that want to rebel against the benevolent society, but it still doesn't change the fact that the society is a reflection of the people, right? Society has always been a reflection of the people and their collective imagination, their collective will. Keep that in mind, right? The need for moral anchoring. This is why moral laws are essential. They provide a standard, a universal metric by which we can measure the worth of our thoughts. They act as mirror. They act as a mirror, right? These moral laws act as a mirror, allowing us to examine our inner thoughts, our inner world, if they align with truth, balance, and harmony, or if they align with falsehood, imbalance, and chaos. Without such standard, we are left adrift in a sea of relativism, guided by the flickering lantern of personal opinion rather than the steady beacon of eternal truth. We begin to justify what feels good rather than what is actually good and just. And in that justification, we carve and mold and sculpt our own vanity from our own reflections, bowing to ourselves, submitting to and prostrating before wickedness. Morality, when anchored to truth and life, becomes a compass. It is not merely a set of rules, but a beacon calling us back home, back to sanity, back to order, back to the source. Without it, we are prisoners of our own imaginations, deceived into thinking that our personal truths can replace the universal one. So, this is very simple. We can imagine many things. We can imagine alternate worlds. We can imagine alternate universes. We can imagine so many things, right? That is not part of reality. But here's the truth. When we have morals that are anchored to truth, what happens is when a imagination comes in our mind, what happens is just like, this does not conform to the truth. Because we have a moral law that conforms to the truth, that always guides us back home, our thoughts can be guided, right? And if we think, okay, this is not right, this is not a right thought. Why? Because the moral law itself says X, Y, and Z. So my thoughts do not conform to X, Y, and Z. Therefore, I need to conform it to X, Y, and Z. That's why moral laws, when it's anchored to truth, when it's anchored to life, it guides us back home, right? If truth is the goal, right? If truth is the goal, the North Star, our destination, right? In a GPS map, right? If we're driving to truth, if our imagination doesn't conform to truth, that means it's leading us astray. This is why having moral laws being anchored to truth guides us back home. Because any thought that goes against truth, we can be like, nah, this is not truth. Because I have this anchorage. I have this pillar. I have this direction, right? Which is truth. Therefore, I can change and pivot back to truth. But without truth, without the moral anchoring, without these moral laws being anchored to truth, every time we imagine something, we are going to go astray. We're not going to conform to reality any longer. And this is what I want people to understand. We're not going to conform to reality if we don't have the truth. This is why truth is independent, right? This is why truth is, most people say truth is mind independent. Truth is objective. Truth is something we didn't create as human beings. It just always existed, right? This is the beauty of truth, because it guides you. It's a directional force that leads you in the right path. For instance, I could say the sun is cold. That is what I imagine in my mind, but that is false. Somebody can easily correct me, right? And I don't have to remain in this falsehood, right? So therefore, I can change and pivot and recognize the truth, because the sun is actually hot. It's not cold. You see? And this is what happens with every moral law. It guides us towards the right direction. Right? So now, it says, without it, I'm going to read this again. Morality, when anchored to truth and life, becomes a compass. It is not merely a set of rules, but a beacon calling us home, back to sanity, back to order, back to the source. The source is truth. It's always been truth. Without it, without truth, We are prisoners of our own imagination, deceived into thinking that our personal truths can replace the universal one. Imagination is a gift, a sign that our minds is working, but one that must be governed with wisdom and humility. When imagination is unrestrained by truth, it becomes a dangerous tool, leading people into rebellion and delusion. We're going to be fighting against the truth in our imagination. You're going to see some people, Mommy, I can fly. That's what they imagine, right? And then when they try to fly, they get hurt. They jump off a building and they realize gravity comes in. They hit the floor because they imagine vanity. Because they didn't have the truth. You see? You think fire doesn't burn, right? You're going to touch that fire and you're going to get burned. Because the laws of nature does not budge for anybody. So if you delude yourself with your own wicked imagination and say fire does not burn, right? And you put your hand in fire, you have rebelled against the truth. You have deluded yourself. That's how it works. That's how it works. So in essence, if you understand this, wicked imagination does not conform to the truth. It does not conform to life, the benefit of life. It doesn't, right? So now, when imagination is unrestrained by truth, it becomes a dangerous tool leading people into rebellion and delusion. In a world overflowing with self-made truths, we must return to the unalterable truth. Truth is unalterable. It is what it is, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. We must examine our imaginations, not just blindly follow them. And if need be, we need to chase them away, subdue them before they manifest and harm ourselves or others. Right? So this is why it's part of clarity of mind. Because once you have the truth, your mind becomes clear. Your mind becomes, clean. Your mind becomes uncloudy, right? Uncloudy. It becomes clear, crystal clear. Once you have the truth, you'll be able to navigate life more effectively. So if you like my video, please subscribe. Please, share this video. Please like this video. Comment if you agree. Comment if you don't agree. Comment if you want, other teachings or if you want me to break things down even further. I'll try my best to do so. Peace.